Shalom, shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rahak Kodash, the one of the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings to the elect, pushing the word across the four corners of earth, risking your life to do so. And, yeah, this man actually said, we will end your whole civilization, which is why it's understandable that Iran wanted to, call a ceasefire, but then they opened up. I believe it's Israel opened up on Lebanon, and they were like, nope. We're gonna close the strait back up. All right, but people are saying, man, because you can only fake for so long. We tell you this is a bloody man, a violent man. All right, the scriptures talk about the house of the thief. All right, a thief, a liar, a robber, a fugitive. All right, the scriptures give the correct narrative, and these other nations are seeing like, now these people don't honor anything. There's no peace. Even when they come to you and pretend to be peaceable, it's still some other stuff. And I was thinking of this scripture in 2nd Esdras 15. I should know it by heart by now. And 28, because it's not just Iran, but they need their allies too. Okay, they need allies. It says, behold a horrible vision and an appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. All right, and take those off so like, yeah, the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots and so many weapons, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. It's like it's bright out here. That's why I'm squinting. It says also the Carmanians raging in wrath. And see, this is what makes them wrathful right here, because basically all of their energy, a lot of their stuff, I believe they destroyed the natural gas plant. They destroyed a lot of oil places. They just have destroyed a lot of key places, right? Which would cause a lot of wrath. Right? Killed the supreme leader. And now, when you hear reports, it's from the Supreme Council. Right? In wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them. So they all join battle. So whatever divisions they have amongst them, they're going to have to put to the side. And shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. So they have to be joined together. They have to turn themselves, conspiring together. All right, and Ezekiel 38 mentions Sheba, verse 13 mentions Sheba and Dedan, which is talking about Arabia, basically, and the merchants of Tarshish. Because, like, you threaten an entire civilization. You can't just, you destabilize that whole region. Now everybody who's under Iran's control is like, well, shit, they gone. So now we gonna, do this and do that, and all of the order that has been established is destabilized. Which, the narrative has been put out. Well, these people are tyrants anyway. The scriptures call them that. In Wisdom of Solomon said, tyrants shall tremble, fear me. The leaders of these other nations are tyrannical. They're tyrants. Right? And you guys did join with Esau ultimately. So it is what it is. It says, it's a quick report. Close your borders, wreck your economy. Spain has done the math on clamping down migration. Spain's government has modeled what happens if they close the door on migration, which is said the merchants of Tarshish, right? Spain has picked a side in the West political battle. While most Western governments race to tighten borders Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is doubling down on open migration, armed with a technical report making the economic case on why pulling back will be a serious mistake. According to their findings, a 30% annual reduction in migration flows will shrink Spain's GDP by 5% within a decade, 14% by 2055, and 22% by 2075. So they're more interested in being merchants. Spain hit a record 22 million employed workers, a milestone experts partly attribute to sustained migration flows that have accelerated sharply since the pandemic. More than 220,000 agri farms could be abandoned within 50 years, or nearly 3 in 10 that operate today, deepening Spain's chronic rural depopulation crisis. Right, so the merchants of Tarshish. So you have these people who want to make money. Tarshish is Spain. All right, hey, this is them kind of going against the grain, because here in America, I saw a number where they were like, most of the people who are here and undocumented, they are like not non-violent offenders, but they're still getting deported anyway. It is what it is, man. Right? So that's how it smarts, man. Small things, small, ideas. Well, look, we have the numbers that says this, so we're gonna move like this. Well, we have the numbers that say this, and all of a sudden, there's a disagreement between two allies, and then you find yourself going this way and that other person goes that way. Scriptures talk about it, contention, strife, all that stuff. They say where there's envy and there's strife, there's confusion in every work. All right, and this is ultimately the plan of them. They just want to own everything. Right? Because like in Venezuela, they said it's occupied right now by the U.S. military. So while the perception on the media is like Venezuela is a hellhole, and all these places, they're talking about a lot of gringos are actually going to Venezuela and actually moving there, and it's actually very cheap and it's very safe. All right, that was Esau's plan the whole time. Of course, that cheap as oil. All right, Isaiah 5 and 8. Woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth. You just house to house, field to field. Everything is mine. I control everything. I control this. I control that. Until they may be placed alone. So the earth was made to be inhabited. The earth abided forever. Now here's them at the World Economic Forum. It says water, soil, and oxygen should not be infinitely accessible. They are assets that should be included in global economic balance. Like the pride.
When we talk about capital, we tend to think only about financial capital, about cash, financial assets, but we know that's not the only value on which our economies depend. We know that every aspect of every part of the economy is fundamentally dependent on nature, as you highlighted. The air that we breathe, the water we drink, the soil, the oceans that we need for the food that we need to consume, the minerals that we need as inputs to technology and to infrastructure. And without these forms of value, these forms of natural capital, we won't have economies. They are the fundamental building blocks of our economies. But the ways, as you said, the ways in which we have grown our economies, our models of economic development, have been incredibly successful for...
You see how they try to use just the word salad to explain shit? That's why in the scriptures it said just make it plain. Like, just say things plainly. All these fucking words and shit. The comic base with the
global prosperity. But the unintended consequences of current models of growth are simply not sustainable on a finite planet. The amount of resource that we are drawing into our economies Earth's resources, and the amount of pollution and waste that we're pumping out, whether that's through greenhouse gas emissions, whether that's sewage into our water, whether it's plastics into the ocean, is beyond the Earth's carrying capacity. And we know that that's leading, as you said, to very significant direct impacts for society, but very significant financial costs for the economy. You can look at that as you have and calculate that at a macro level. But the way that that's showing up as we're breaching these boundaries and breaching these limits and undermining nature is showing up in very practical ways that are showing up for financial risk for institutions. Lack of water is leading to disruption of operations of supply chains where water is needed as an essential input for manufacturing or power production. The degradation of soil is leading to reduced agricultural yields.
Shit, who degraded the soil? Who's taking all of the damn water? Right? They building these what do they call these little these warehouses. What are they? Energy warehouses.
Decline.
Oh Lord, what's the word? Data centers. Excuse me. They're building all these data centers, which makes sense. That links up with Revelation 13. The data center is going to have servers. It's going to have, all of this stuff in it. It's going to use up a certain amount of water and electricity, right? And all over the country, they're making these deals with these local governments, paying people off. Like over here in Festus, Missouri, they said they got rid of everybody in the council who voted for that shit. Right, so a lot of Edomites, they ain't going for that. And Festus, that's full of Edomites. I've been there. It's about an hour south of St. Louis. But these data centers using up all the water. A lot of water goes to construction. A lot of water. It's not the people that are using it. There's enough, but you have to follow the laws. All right, you don't have to fuck up the soil with all these chemicals and then this chemical and that chemical. And I gotta kill the caterpillar and all these animals that come to eat up everything. The earth restores itself, but you have to follow the laws. So it's just through greed. They want to own the land and then use the same plot and then use it again and then use it for the 5th time. What happened? Shit, it has to rest. All right, hey, the Heavenly Father let it be 1,000 years of rest after everything was created. Let everything rest. This is a concept that Esau doesn't understand. You just keep going, and we're gonna keep producing, because you're fucking greedy.
Line of pollinator species is also having an impact on agriculture. So that's leading to direct financial risks for organizations, for businesses, and ultimately for investors. And as you said, ultimately the reason for this is at the moment the way that decisions are made on an everyday level within businesses and financial institutions is because we're looking only at financial data, financial metrics that are not factoring in nature. Nature is treated within the economy as though it's unlimited and predominantly as though it's free. And the risks and harms are simply not...
You said, what? Nature is treated as if it's free. Because it is fucking free. Everybody eats from the ground. Now, people own lands and stuff, but, the scriptures talk about if your brother falls, into a situation, they can eat from the corners of the field.
Costed in financial terms. We can cost them at a macro level. They're not costed into day-to-day decision making. And the result is, as a consequence, we've put all of our economies at fundamental risk. We can't do business on a dead planet. If we're going to protect natural systems, one of the solutions
okay.
is to bring nature onto the balance sheet, to bring nature into the ways that decisions are made within business, to allocate a value to it and to bring it into accounting and financial mechanisms.
To bring nature, you see how, oh my gosh, smooth, words are smooth as, nature cannot be free, we must allocate it into the economic, what? This is what happens if these people continue to rule. Right? This is what makes people sigh and cry. And you should be sighing and crying. Right? And citing everything that they're saying with the correction according to the Bible, if you're doing lessons. Because they're saying a lot right now. It's a lot. You miss a day, you miss a lot. But all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. And we're going to stand on our watch and continue until the end, Lord willing. Shalom.